Hello, and today we've got Hearts legend and club ambassador Gary Locke. How are you doing today, Gary?
I'm fine, Angus. Aye, how's yourself, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So let's start off. What is your first memory of playing football?
My first memory was when I was a young kid, 6-year-old. My dad took me over to place Mayfield, which is quite close to Bonnyrigg, and I started playing with a team called Panda Youth Club. I'm not even sure if they're still going now. I think they disbanded a while ago. So I started playing there, and then at 9-year-old I went into Edinburgh and played for AngusJB, which is quite a well-known boys' club in Edinburgh. Played there for I was 9 all the way up till I was 16, and then I came into Hearts full time after leaving the school.
Hutchie is well known for having so many players to go on to have great careers. Was there anybody in your team at Hutchie that went on to have a similar career in professional football like you?
I had a really good side. Darren Dodd would be one guy that played in my team. He went on to play for Hibs and St Johnstone, Inverness, quite a few clubs Darren played for. But as much as we were a really successful side, it was just myself and Darren that went on to play professional. The rest of the boys, quite a few of them signed at 16 and went to clubs. But everybody that goes professional when they leave school, not everybody makes it. And sadly, quite a few of the boys maybe did a YTS at clubs a couple of years, and then they kind of ended up playing in maybe the lower leagues, or they ended up playing junior or things like that. So it just shows you how difficult it is to make it.
What was your first thought when you found out the Hearts wanted to sign you as a youth?
I was absolutely buzzing. As a kid, because I did reasonably well at Hutchie Vale, there was quite a number of clubs at the time, would come and watch the games. And, I ended up I trained as a kid with Dundee, Hibs, Celtic, Rangers. I used to go down to Manchester United and Middlesbrough and that on trial. And for some strange reason, it never ever seemed to get picked up by Hearts. And obviously being a massive jambo, that was my kind of dream. So luckily I played in a tournament through Easter Craigs in Glasgow, believe it or not, for Hutchie, and the Hearts scout at the time, Ian Grassick, he was at the game. Gave my dad his card, and then after that I never looked back. Went straight into Hearts, and I've been there kind of ever since.
So you had to go through to Glasgow to get scouted by Hearts.
That was the sort of puzzling thing. Was I played in Edinburgh every week, and for some reason I just didn't seem to be any Hearts scouts at our games, and then playing through a tournament in Glasgow, which was probably the least place I expected the Hearts scouts to be. It was Ian Grassick was at the game, and a guy called Stan Matthews was also a big influence in taking me to Hearts. And then when they gave the dad, my dad, it was like a little card with like their details and Heart and Midlothian FC. I think my dad still actually got that in the house. I went straight into Hearts, and I was absolutely delighted, because obviously that was my club.
What was the first professional game you played for Hearts?
The first professional game, first team, was I came on as a sub for Derek Ferguson at St Johnstone on the last game of the season at McDermott Park. So it was, as much as we got beat in the game, just to get on the pitch and play for 45 minutes for obviously my boyhood club was amazing. And if I never ever played again after that game, I could always say that I lived my dream and I played for Hearts. But luckily, I ended up going on and having a decent career. And to play so many games for your boyhood heroes was a dream come true for me.
You went on to captain Hearts. Would you say that's your biggest achievement in your career besides the Scottish Cup?
Yeah, without a doubt. It was obviously a dream to play for Hearts, because I followed them everywhere when I was a kid. I used to go on the Danderall Hearts supporters bus. A lot of people from Bonnyrigg went on that bus, and I went everywhere. When Hearts were a bit of a yo-yo team at the time, we got promotion, we got relegated, so I'd kind of seen it all growing up. I've seen a lot of good teams and a lot of average Hearts teams, but it was fantastic going every week with my dad, my brothers, and all my friends. And then obviously to go on and captain them was a dream come true. When the gaffer pulled me into his office to tell me I was going to be made club captain at 20 years of age, it was a big thing. And probably looking back, I think once you've kind of finished your career and you look back on your career, I probably didn't realise just how big an achievement that was. But the captain Hearts, a huge club, was a great honour, and something that I treasured.
You mentioned you used to go on the supporters' buses. What was the first Hearts game you went to?
Well, I can't really remember it. My dad tells me it was a 2-0 defeat at Muirton Park, St Johnstone. So it just shows you how long ago that was. That was when St Johnstone played at the Old Stadium. My dad tells me I was 2-year-old, and I think I got a flag that day with a stick, and he says I just ended up sort of batting everybody on the head with a flag. But kind of in the main, my main early memories were kind of 5-6-year-old, when obviously I started going every single week. And Hearts at that time were in what is now the Championship. So I seen us, winning that. I seen us getting into the Premier League. I seen us getting relegated. I was lucky enough to go to Paris in 1984 when I was only 9. Managed to wangle a few days off the school to get away to watch Hearts. So brilliant times, and there are occasions where you look back and every week I just love going to watch Hearts and seeing all my heroes like Robbo, Gary Mackay. Alec McDonald as the manager at the time. It was fantastic.
So you played in the 1996 Scottish Cup final, but unfortunately got injured in that, and you're out for a long time. What was your first emotion? Did you think it was going to be as bad as it was?
No, obviously, like up until then, I did get a few really, really bad injuries in my career, but up until that final, I'd never really suffered any injuries at all. And like football, it's got a habit of when you're doing really well, it can kick you in the teeth a wee bit. And that day, I knew as soon as I went down early doors in the final, I knew I'd done something wrong. But looking back as well, as in hindsight, I probably got myself too hyped up for the game. I was massive Jambo. It was a captain in the cup final, and all week I'd kind of dreamt about being the youngest captain to go up and lift the Scottish Cup in front of the Hearts fans, all that type of stuff. So I was kind of probably too hyped up for the match. I knew there was about 7 or 8 buses for Bonnyrigg went to the game. I managed to get everybody tickets and all that. And I think it was Gaza got the ball and he went to turn, and just as I went to change direction, my studs caught in the turf, and I felt a kind of crack in my knee. And I knew then, I'd never really had a serious injury before, but I knew I'd done something bad. And I got up and I tried to play on, and then I collapsed again. And then, that final was an absolute disaster, both for the team and for myself personally.
2 years later, we made the Scottish Cup final again. How close were you to playing in that? Because I know you're out through injury again, but was it closer?
I was pretty close. It was one of them. I'd done my cartilage about maybe 4 or 5 weeks before the final. So when I got the operation, normally a cartilage you would be out for about 4 weeks. So I knew it was going to be touch and go. And the problem is, I hadn't really done much training in that 4 weeks. And the gaffer had says to me, look, we'll give you every opportunity to get yourself fit. But I knew the lads went down to England at the start of that week, and I did a kind of fitness test on the Wednesday. But I knew even before I went into Tynecastle that day, my knee was still pretty sore. It still had a bit of swelling in it. And when I went to try and run, it was just a waste of time. So I had to be honest with the manager. I had to be honest with myself as well. I always like to think that I put my teammates and my team first. And it would have been unfair for me to say, look, I'm fit and sit on the bench maybe, or even start the game and then come off after 5 minutes. That wouldn't have been the right thing to do. So the main thing for me was that the boys went and won the cup. And the manager made me feel very much part of the whole occasion. I went away with the team on the Friday. I was in the dressing room before the game, doing what I normally did if I was playing, getting in around the boys and making sure everybody was okay. And I was just as happy as any Hearts fan and any Hearts player that day that we won the cup. And obviously I played in the earlier round, so we all played our part that season. And it was fantastic to eventually get our hands on some silverware.
It was the first time in over 50 years we won it. First of all, who chose the suits for that day? And secondly, what were the experiences like of winning the cup and going back to Gorgie after?
The suits, I think it was maybe the gaffer. I think the gaffer had a big hand, and at that time, I think if you remember correctly, I think Liverpool, they got to the FA Cup final and they wore the white suits that day. So at the time, looking back, the suit was horrific. But when we got up that morning, and I'm sure if you interview a few of the boys, they'll all think, oh, we all looked quite sharp that day. We all thought we looked quite trendy. And then obviously my memories after the game were pretty poor, to be fair, because we all got ourselves that drunk on the bus on the way back. I did an interview with Hazel Irvine when I came off the bus, and it's probably the most embarrassed I've ever been looking back. You know, I genuinely couldn't chew my fingernails. I don't think filters could speak much either. And that's probably one regret that I had. You know, on the Saturday night after the game, we did have far too much alcohol. No doubt about that. But you know, my reason was it was the first time I'd ever seen Hearts win a cup, and I'm pretty sure there was a lot of Hearts fans that were in the same kind of state as what I was that night. But it was fantastic. And the Sunday was, you know, out of this world. I've been very lucky to see it 3 times, and I've been involved in it twice. And to see everybody in Princess Street and in Edinburgh, and so many Hearts fans on the street and inside the stadium, you know, it's a fantastic thing, and I hope that the current squad, you know, they get the chance to experience that sometime soon.
What are the best and worst kits you've ever worn?
Well, obviously, every home strip, you know, I love the traditional maroon strip, so pulling on that jersey every week was a dream come true. But if you were to ask me what my favourite Hearts kit was, we had like an Inter Milan styled away strip in 1994, I think it was. Strongbow was the sponsor, and that was a fantastic kit. And it looked like Inter Milan. So I really, really liked that kit. I thought it was, you know, really nice, and it'd be nice to maybe bring an away strip out like that again sometime soon.
And what about the worst kit?
The worst kit, I remember we had a yellow away kit. It was Pony, I think, that made it, and it had black sleeves and like obviously a yellow. I thought it was horrible. We genuinely just looked like 10 goalkeepers when we ran out the tunnel. It wasn't the best.
What are the best boots you've worn?
The best boots? I'd probably have to say, when I was at Hearts, I was sponsored by Adidas, and then I got a sponsorship with Nike as well. So probably both they boots. When I was young, you know, I always wore you know, Adidas or Nike boots, and then obviously I was very fortunate that when I played with Hearts, myself and Davy Weir both got a boot deal with Nike, which was great. So I think it was Nike Empos they were called at the time. So they were fantastic boots. But I was never one that I was overly bothered about the boots. You know, as long as they were comfortable and I managed to get out in the pitch and play. You know, a few of the boys towards the end of my career started, you know, wearing like yellow boots, pink boots, white boots, all that type of stuff. But in my day, you know, traditionally, most of the boys just wore black boots, which I think looked a wee bit better.
What's the best stadium you've played in?
The best stadium, I'd probably say it wasn't the nicest stadium, but the best stadium for atmosphere that I played in was the Calderón Stadium, Atletico Madrid. You know, we beat them 2-1 at Tynecastle, and then we went over there, and unfortunately we got well beat over there. But in terms of the atmosphere and the noise that the Atletico fans made, it was incredible. So I really enjoyed it. Obviously, Hampden, you know, Tynecastle, Ibrox, Parkhead, they're all fantastic places to play. But I always enjoyed it, you know, playing in front of big crowds. And when, especially Tynecastle, so when the crowd's right on top of you and right behind you, and that can be really intimidating, both for the away teams. But you know, if you're not playing that well yourself, you know, it can be a tough place to play. But luckily for me, you know, played in some cracking Hearts teams, and in the main at Tynecastle, you know, it was brilliant playing there because the fans were right behind you and got right behind the team. And you know, when Tynecastle's like that, it's a difficult place for opposing players to come and play.
What was the last game you played?
A good question. That I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it was a game against Celtic at Rugby Park for Kilmarnock. I was coming towards the end of my career, and I went to see 3 or 4 different surgeons who basically said to me, "Look, Barry, if you continue playing, you're going to end up in a wheelchair when you retire. If you quit now, your knee's in such a bad state that you're going to have a decent quality of life when you finish playing. But you know, if you continue to do so, you're going to really make your knee worse." So when you know the professionals are telling you that, it's an easy decision to make, although a difficult one. You know, I was dead upset at it because I played football all my life. But you know, when people are telling you your knees, you know, in the best of states, it was time to hang the boots up, and then luckily I got into coaching after that, which I really enjoyed.
You're part of the coaching staff for the 2012 Scottish Cup final. What were your experiences? What were your experiences of that being a massive champion, being in the dressing room with all the players?
I was nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't really, throughout my career, I wasn't really one for getting nervous. But I think when we've seen what was at stake in that game, I was assisted Paulo, and Paulo was fantastic. He was dead cool, calm. I felt we maybe probably should have taken the team away for Edinburgh, but he was like, no, just want to train at Tynecastle and keep everything the same. The build up to the game was just like any other game, very thorough and very professional. We went over all the set pieces, which fortunately we scored off one of them. I couldn't sleep that whole week, as you can imagine. Like any Hearts fan, I think was dead, sort of nervous in case it never went our way, because it would have been impossible to, listen to the Hibs supporters and that if they beat us that day. But fortunately, everything on the day went perfect for us. We got a few goals, and to beat your biggest rivals in such a big game, it was fantastic, and it meant that obviously you could walk the streets with a big smile on your face after that game finished. But it was fantastic to be involved, and again, the bus parade and that on the Sunday was superb, and it was great, obviously, for Paulo and Sergio and Cabral, who were part of that backroom staff as well. They loved it, and still keep in touch with Paulo all the time. And he talks about the Hearts, he still wears all the Hearts training gear and the Hearts hats and what have you, and every chance he gets he comes over to see us. So it's brilliant, and he's doing really, really well over in Portugal at the moment.
What celebrations would you say were better, 98 or 2012?
I get asked that question a lot, to be fair, Angus. I would probably say 98, just pure and simply because, like every Hearts fan, I think, at that game, well, maybe some of the older lads, but that was the first time I'd ever seen Hearts win a trophy, and I think a lot of us after 86 were of the opinion, I'm never going to see Hearts win anything. So I would say 98, as much as 2012 was absolutely brilliant, and you beat your biggest rivals and probably what's been the biggest game in the club's history, I think 98 just shaded it in terms of what it meant to everyone, what it meant to the club, and obviously it was the first time that the majority of Hearts fans had seen us win anything. So for me, I knew that I could die quite peacefully after that game because I'd seen Hearts winning the cup.
Yeah, you went on to become manager of Hearts in your darkest hour when you went into administration. You must have experienced a lot of lows, but what was the best moment of that season?
It was a really difficult season, even at the start of that season, I'm not going to lie to you, when we looked at the squad, even without the 15-point deduction, I looked at the squad and it was a really, really young squad. A lot of the lads in that squad hadn't even played a first-team game. So we knew we were going to be up against it. And, there was a lot, you're right, there was a lot of ups and downs that season. But the most pleasing thing for me was we worked tirelessly with the young lads, the Walkers, Holts, Callum Pattersons of this world. And I think towards the end of that season, we beat Kilmarnock 5-0 at Tynecastle, and that was a really satisfying day for me in terms of, these young lads have been through so much that season. They took a lot of knocks. They were making mistakes in the first team that, for me, they should have been making in the reserves. But when you're making it at first team level, obviously everybody sees it. So it was tough for a lot of them, but they all came. They all really grew up that season. They all got physically stronger, and not all of them went on to have careers at Hearts. Some of them moved on and played at a lower level. But it was really satisfying to see how they all grew up as young lads, how they kind of became men, and it was really pleasing to see a lot of them go on and have good careers. So it was disappointing, obviously, to get relegated that season. But without the 15 points, we would have given ourselves a chance of staying in the league, and we would have finished above Hibs. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. And the season after that, obviously, they went on and did brilliantly and got back up into the Premier League. So that was really pleasing to see.
Just finally to end on, when was the last time you had to pay for a ticket to go to a football match?
It wasn't actually that long ago. It was when I left Hearts and I was manager of Wraith. I had to pay for a ticket for Easter Road. So I was in the Hearts end for all the Derby games. So it was a wee bit disappointing not having to pay money to give money to Hibs, but you know, you want to go and see your team, and you know, there's nothing better for me as a Hearts fan. You know, I think that most Hearts fans will probably say the best atmosphere is always when you go down to Easter Road. So
yeah,
that'd be the last time I paid for a ticket.
Right, Gary, that wraps it up. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you.
No problem, pal. Right, all the best and good luck with the podcast, pal.
Yep, thank you.